My name is Rachel. I have been married to my college sweetheart, Mark, for 3 years now. Mark is a carefree, easygoing, and a huge eater who has made it to the finals of one of the TV shows, the Food Challenge Championship. Weighing about 330 pounds, his stomach is beyond the realm of human beings, and he has devoured 100 plates of fried chickens and 30 slices of XXL-sized pizzas. He also drinks 10 2-liter bottles of Coca-Cola to refresh his palate and still looks like it's not enough for him. Since he had an enormous appetite, life with Mark was always a struggle. He says he eats very light meals at home, but even so, out of his monthly salary of $2,000, $1,800 are all spent on food. The Engel's coefficient, which indicates the ratio of food expenses to total expenses, averages just under 30%, but our figures were over 90%. Since we own our home, we don't have to pay housing costs, but we are behind in paying fixed expenses such as utilities and phone bills, and have often had our electricity and water stopped since we couldn't pay for that either on time. Mark's family has been providing financial support to help us make ends meet. Mark's family only consists of him and his mother. After our marriage, my mother-in-law, Linda, has been living alone in an apartment. She is also known as one of the big eaters in the neighborhood. No matter how much she eats, she somehow manages to stay thin, and even Mark admits that she eats a lot. She is obsessed with food and devours everything that is put in front of her. She is literally a machine that just eats. Mark would laugh while describing about her. Sometimes, Linda would invite us to visit her apartment. But when it comes to eating together or anything related to food, she would begin to bully me. Welcome. Thank you for coming all the way here. Here, please sit. When Linda invited Mark and I into her place, she first makes us sit in chairs. From where she stands, she looks down at me with a smile, but there's always a cold look in her gaze. It's as if she's trying to bully and beat down the hateful woman who took away her son whom she had carefully raised. Oh, I'm sorry, Rachel. I went to buy a cake for the two of you since you said that both of you were coming to visit me, but the shop only had 20 pieces. 10 pieces were each placed on 2 huge plates, one in front of Mark and the other in front of Linda. One small empty white plate was in front of me. I think there's something in the pantry by the storage, so you're free to eat anything from there. Linda says so, but the pantry by the storage is a little far away from her place, and there's no way I can tell which shelf to look at. I can only give a fake smile to her and tell her that it's unnecessary. This always happened whenever we visited Linda, and all the main dishes like the barbecue meals and desserts were all served by Linda to Mark and her, but I was left with only one empty white plate. I don't mind if they do that with a side dish, but I'm fed up with being harassed like this every time. Hey, Mark, I only have this plate and I've got no food on it. I decided to consult Mark about it, but Mark wouldn't even look at me and seemed to care. This cake is from that cake shop over there, right? It's so good. He munched onto the cakes and says, Mom said they didn't sell it, so I guess it can't be helped, right? Well, no, I mean, every time I'm here, all I do is get this white empty plate. I had no choice but to clam up. Mom, you really know my taste buds. It's so delicious. I married him because I liked how carefree he was, but he really has no consideration for his own wife. I grew more and more disgusted, day by day, with the insensitivity of Mark, who never questioned Linda about how she bullied me. One day, we were invited to eat dinner with Linda. I ordered pizza, so come and eat it. We also have fried chicken, so let's have a small party. Mark was so thrilled when Linda called for a feast party. I love pizza so much. How can something very junky be so good? As I filled the container with the salad I prepared as a side dish, I thought to myself that I'm sure I'll end up eating just this salad anyway. Compared to Mark, who looks very happy, I let out a huge sigh. When we arrived at Linda's place, she started her custom, to bully me. It took 5 delivery people to bring in the 60 extra large pizzas into her place. The same number of fried chickens were also prepared. I wonder if this would be enough. Linda asks. Yes, well, if we have about 20 more plates of hamburgers, then it would be perfect. Mark asks for an additional order. What an appetite. I was just too stunned. What kind of big eaters were they? I muttered in my mind. I'm sorry, I really love my son so much that I want him to eat everything he wants to eat. Once all the food came, Linda finally came over and spoke to me. But that salad you brought, it can't possibly be enough. And even the vegetables aren't enough. It's only just lettuce, cucumbers, and tomatoes. She began to bully me with my salad. Supposedly, Linda's sister and her husband would also come to visit over later on. Their appetite is said to be average, but Mark was the one who says they're average, so you can probably guess how big their appetite was compared to normal people. I had to put all the pizzas nicely onto the plates, serve the fried chickens onto the plates, and other things like serving other side dishes on different plates. While I was doing all the preparations that Linda forced me to do, Mark and Linda were just watching the TV and laughing hysterically. When everything was ready, I called them over. Whoa, pizza! Fried chicken! What an amazing feast we'll have! Mark was tapping his flabby tummy and doing a little dance. My mother-in-law on the other side of the table was saying, "What is with all this food being served like this? You really haven't learned our family's traditional way of serving food yet, huh?" She looked furious. I was silent, not understanding what was going on. You're only supposed to have one plate. Why are you arranging the dishes to your side as the same way we do? She asks. Oh, enough. You can just eat the salad you brought in the other room. This is the only dish that you get to take. Linda looked offended and I was unable to say anything back, so I moved to the next room. My head was spinning. In the living room, on the other side of the wall, a huge feast was going on without me. While eating the salad in the other room, I got thirsty. I tried to ask Linda if I could at least have a sip of Coca-Cola, but she says, "Oh, we don't have them anymore, and these are the 2 last ones. Sorry," she says with a smirk on her face. I had no choice but to drink water from the toilet. I look into the back of the kitchen and see an unopened carton of milk sitting next to the fridge. They have milk! I picked it up and asked Linda if I could at least drink that. And she answers, "Oh, this milk is for the stray cats, I'm sorry." And saying this, she went back to the family feast. She made me do all the preparations for the feast and then called me out on my lack of manners. She has enough milk to feed stray cats, but she doesn't even have anything to give to her own son's wife? I really have had enough of this. Now it's my time to show them what I can do. The adrenaline and anger filled my body. One day, as I was looking for the right timing to get back at Linda, Mark and I had the opportunity to visit her place again. As usual, I was being bullied with no food on my plate. "Grandma!" I heard a young voice. The voice was my niece Kathy's, who was at the front door. "Oh, well, what's wrong now, honey?" She was standing in the doorway, who was probably on her way home from kindergarten. I forgot to bring back the cactus drawing that I made with you yesterday. I looked into the living room and saw 2 pieces of paper with drawings on it on the table in front of the TV. Well, I'm sorry that I couldn't remind you about it. Linda quickly changed her devilish expression she had towards me and smiled lovingly over to Kathy. Then, Kathy came running into the living room. Then, she went straight to the cactus and picked up a small one. It must have been a precious treasure for her. And for Linda, it was a proof of her granddaughter's hard work. Because you like this one, Grandma, I'll leave it here. And I'll bring this one, okay? Kathy picked up the one she was bringing it back home and looked at us. Oh, Auntie and Uncle! She realized that we were there. Kathy was so adorable. At that moment, I had a great idea. Hey, Kathy, are you hungry? Hearing this, Kathy turned to me and said, Yup, I'm hungry. She held her stomach and gave a huge smile as she said that. She really is very cute. I see. Well, how about we play a game to see who can eat more? If you win, I'll buy you the toy you've always wanted. Really? Okay, I'll play. Oh, there's all my favorite foods on the table. I could eat all of them. Kathy's stomach growled loudly as she looked at the pizza, fried chicken, and large hamburgers, which were all in front of Mark. Oh, these are mine. Kathy, I'll give you some snacks here, so come on, get over here. I guess Mark and Linda was so greedy that they didn't even want to give their own grandchild and niece what they have surrounded themselves with. They had very serious looks on their faces and went out of their way to stop the game. But Kathy says this innocently. I like fried chicken and pizzas better. Alright, let's get set. Ready, and go! I took the pizza that Mark had left, and Kathy took the fried chicken and the burgers that were on Linda's plate and ate them with her mouth full. Hey, stop it! My fried chicken. Mark tried to take the fried food away from me and began to stick his hand in my mouth, but Kathy says this. Don't interfere with the game, and slapped Mark's hand hard. Mark was stunned by the shock of being slapped by Kathy, while Linda looked on in disbelief at what was happening before her eyes. 10 minutes later, all the remaining food on the table was gone. Now Kathy is smothering herself with the cake as a dessert. My pizza! My fried chicken! Where did the burgers go to? Mark stares dumbfounded at the empty plates on the table. Well, it's in mine and Kathy's stomachs. It's your fault for not eating it sooner, isn't it? You can't just stand there. If you think that I'm going to stay quiet forever, you're both wrong for this. Oh, and that's right. There's something I prepared for you. Mark's eyes lit up, and his stomach rumbled as if he thought I had prepared him food. But he misunderstood really badly. I took out a document from my bag. Let's get a divorce. Huh? I took out the divorce papers that I had been carrying around with me since that day. Linda and Mark both had huge surprised eyes at my abrupt request for a divorce. Please divorce me. And I began to vent out all my past stresses and frustrations at once. I've been bullied by your mother, and you haven't defended me even once. I'm sick and tired of you eating up my share of the food. You empty the fridge so much that it's so difficult for me to do our daily shopping. You don't even realize that with your very low salary, you have been draining my precious savings because you don't even have enough money for food. And then Linda says this. I'm bullying you? I beg your pardon. Isn't it natural that you want your own beloved son to eat a full meal of all the delicious foods? If you put up with your empty white plate, my son will be happy, and you, as his wife, should be happy too if he's happy. She argued back with such nonsense. My mind completely snapped. You've got to be kidding me. My happiness doesn't lie in that. Both Linda and Mark gasped at my sudden anger. No matter how much I had been mistreated as a wife, I had to put up with it for a long time. But when I realized that this attitude had escalated Mark and Linda in the wrong direction, I felt disgusted with myself. I decided that I would go all out. I quickly pulled my phone out of my pocket and began to call. I'm divorcing Mark because I got bullied by Linda. Please just come to Linda's place right now, I said over the phone. I'll be right there, so you better wait for me. And then I waited for 30 minutes. As the fierce battle between Mark, Linda, and I continued, my mother, Anna, finally arrived at Linda's place. Are you the ones who are torturing my beautiful daughter? My mother's angry voice echoed through the living room. My mother is as big as Mark. She was once famous for being a champion for Women's Wrestling Championship, and now she's a fierce fighter who trains male members of the Men's National Wrestling Club. Her overwhelming power is so huge that people on the street tend to avoid her. Mark and Linda were stunned by the unexpected appearance of Anna, and their mouths were wide open. You, Mark! Yes, I'm talking to you. Yes, ma'am. Mark sounded very scared. Instead of helping your wife, you have joined with your mother together to bully your own wife. Shame on you. Shame on you. I'm so sorry. Mark repeatedly apologized with tears in his eyes. And then my mother became a little bit calm at this point. By the way, how did you even get bullied? I revealed everything that had happened to me. Mark and Linda, who have been picking on me, definitely took advantage of my silence so that no one would notice that they're actually bullying me. They are bullying me, but by nature they're what I call cowards, who are more concerned about what others think of them. Knowing this, I asked my mother, who is a fierce fighter, to appear this time. My mother grew angry at the numerous stories I told her about me being bullied by them. Seeing my mother get angry, both Mark and Linda began to tremble. When my mother finished listening to my story, she told Kathy and I to go outside and enjoy at the amusement park nearby, and disappeared with Mark and Linda into the next room. And 2 hours later, when Kathy and I returned to Linda's place after enjoying the amusement park, Mark and Linda were slumped over looking helpless, apparently having been lectured by my mother earlier. So? Don't you have something to say to my daughter? What are you supposed to say if you did something wrong? My mother urged Mark and Linda. I'm so sorry. They both apologized to my mother and I. If you want my forgiveness, sign the divorce papers. If you promise to stay away from me for the rest of your life, maybe there will be a day when I could finally forgive you both. I understand. My mother did an amazing job. My mother and I looked at each other and laughed. And Kathy was quietly eating her cake at the table. 1 year had passed since the divorce. Due to my mother's influence, word got out that Linda had bullied me, and she had become a person who was hated by many people. From that, she got depressed, and her hormone balance was broken, and her slender body, of which she was so proud of, had completely changed, and she got very fat. As for Mark, even though I told him not to contact me, he sends me a message once a week demanding that we get back together. He's trying his best to get back with me, but it'll never happen. Honey, where are you now? I am worried that you're at home without me and shivering from loneliness. I'm living with my mother now. The house without you is nothing to me now. My mother doesn't cook my favorite fried chicken anymore. I want to eat your cooking again. I want to start over again with you. Please give me a chance. I will never take away your food again. I will not complain about you with my mother anymore. I'll do whatever you say. Please, come back. What a horror. Reading those messages made me feel sick and nauseous. Please do not contact me ever again. That would be my true happiness. Goodbye. I replied with that message, set all of Mark's messages to be forwarded to my mother, and threw my phone into the ocean. I'm so sure that Mark will get lectured from my mother now every time he texts me from now on. And what's more, I'm actually a big eater myself. I secretly participated in a women's food challenge championship and ate 20 servings of fried chickens and made it to the semifinals. I kept it a secret from Mark and Linda about this. On the day I competed with Kathy, there were about 10 servings each of fried chickens, burgers, and pizzas left on the table, and I finished them all in 10 minutes. Kathy also ate about 5 servings, so in the future, she would definitely be a big eater. After that incident, I threw away all the white plates, which reminded me of those traumatizing days. Whenever I feel like it, I prepare about 12 servings of fried chickens, pizzas, and burgers, and enjoy eating them all with my mother. Being jealous over food really is something. Every time my mother and I remember Mark and Linda apologizing on their knees, we both have a laugh about it.